Welcome to Mommin Around's first episode. I'm spilling the beans on what you can expect from Mommin Around. We're talking about mom confessions, parenting games, hilarious kid quotes, and some incredible mom guests who will have you snorting coffee through your nose. Today's first episode is a solo episode of just me, what you can expect, and who I am as a person, and why I started this podcast. So let's get into it. Before we get into today's episode, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss a Mommin moment. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts fixed. So I'm your host, Liz Mercedes, and I'm a new mom of one. I'm not an expert mom. I'm just winging it. Momming is literally the ultimate obstacle course. And you guys are my partners in crime. Okay, so welcome to the squad and let's have fun. That's what this whole podcast is about. So, why I'm creating this podcast. So, I actually wanted to create a podcast for a while, and I was thinking something informational would be great. And I was thinking about all the guests I could have on and kind of going through that. And then I posted a reel on Instagram that was just funny because it's just kind of what I was going through. I was sick and I really, would have loved the day off, but as a mom, you don't get the day off. So I just posted an Instagram about my little boss and it went viral. I got over 1 million views and I realized that that's what moms need. They just need to laugh, right? So we're just all here to laugh and have fun. I'm going to have some guests on that in other venues might be informational, but here they're here to laugh and have fun because that's what this whole podcast is about. We're just sharing swapping our war stories and kind of going through it. But honestly, I wouldn't change it for the world. And I don't know about you guys, but my tiny human is my favorite human in the world. Life is too short. We got to laugh at this mess, this mess, this madness. And there's no one I would rather have making me laugh than my baby. So today I'm just going to kind of get into who I am and what this podcast is about. So like I said, I'm your host, Liz Mercedes, repeating myself. I was a teacher for almost 10 years. I was on the child study team, and then I left and became a stay-at-home mom. I was actually, me and my husband moved from New Jersey to Austin last year. Just because we need a change. We went through IVF and that was pretty rough on us. And so we just needed to kind of hit the reset button. We had one single embryo. And if you know my story, then you've heard this a million times. So we had one single embryo, and last December, so almost exactly a year ago, I decided that I was ready to implant it and kind of move on with my life if it didn't work, because I knew I wasn't doing IVF again, and it worked. And now we have our little baby Kala, who is almost 3 months old, which is so crazy. It goes by so fast, and it also drags. So, it's very true what they say. The days are long, but the years are short. But we had her, and I just didn't go back to work. I did have in the plan to kind of start working in January. I don't know if that's happening anymore, but I was like, you know what? I need some kind of creative outlet or something to make me feel more normal. And that's how this podcast kind of was birthed, in conjunction with the viral post, which if you haven't seen it on Instagram, go check it out. So I gave birth to my mini-me. She is my twin, which is so weird, having a kid that looks like you, especially because obviously I was not aware of what I looked like when I was a baby, but I grew up looking at pictures of me as a baby, and she looks almost exactly like me. And it's so weird. I feel like I'm looking at myself. And if you don't have a kid that looks like you, then I don't think I can't really explain it, because obviously I didn't know myself as a kid. I think it's probably even weirder for my parents because they lived it and now it's me again, right? But I look at her and I feel like I'm looking at a picture of myself, and it's so strange. My husband is such a trooper about her not looking like him at all, but she's literally all me, and it's hilarious. And it's weird, just looking. I feel like it's kind of healing my inner child, looking at her and just being like, oh, I get to raise like this little person that's like an extension of me. It's very weird. Um, I wanted to go over my birth story a little bit. So, as you know, we went through IVF. I have endometriosis, which was not our problem fertility wise, but it did, the IVF treatments did make my endometriosis worse. So, like, my actual birth wasn't, like, my laboring wasn't too bad because of, my pain from endometriosis. The actual labor wasn't crazy. I got to around 6 centimeters without an epidural. And then I said the whole time I'm going to try to do it without the epidural. But as soon as it hurts too bad, I'm getting the epidural. So we got induced on, let's say, like a Wednesday, I think it was, Wednesday the 13th at night. Yeah, that's what it was. We got induced and we went in and it was like so chill. They started giving me meds, and I didn't start having contractions right away. Later on in the night, I started having contractions. The contractions weren't that bad. Until I got to 6 centimeters, like I said, and then I was like, I need the epidural. So I asked for the epidural. Doctor came in, started giving me the epidural, and I was holding Nick's hands, and he passed out. Literally, I was like, Nick, you there? And the nurse turned around. Everyone came rushing in. And they were like, what's wrong, and Nick was just like out cold, and it was the funniest thing ever. My poor mom had to leave the room because they only let one person in the room for the epidural, so she left, and she saw everybody running into the room, and she was like panicking because she thought something happened with like me or the baby, but no, it was just Nick. He passed out. After he came to, he was like done. He was like laying on the couch, and then the doctor was trying to put the epidural in me, right? So it was like literally the part of the epidural where you can't move, and I couldn't stop laughing. Like, I was shaking because it was just the funniest thing to me. Like, he was just out cold. And usually he goes out when they put a needle in him. Like, it's not throughout IVF. Every time he had to get blood taken out, basically, he passed out. But this time he just looked at the needle, and I guess the needle was so big that that's what made him pass out, but it was hilarious. And then after that, it was actually pretty smooth. I don't know if like him making me, because I was so tense because the pain had gotten so bad, and I don't know if him making me laugh just kind of like made everything go smoother, but they got the epidural in me, didn't paralyze me, thank God. And then I took a nap after that, nice epidural nap. And when I woke up, she said I was ready to push, waited for the doctor. The doctor came in. 6 pushes later, we had our little Cala Carmela. And yeah, so it was amazing. And then they let us do skin to skin for like hours. We were supposed to, they have like golden hour, and we were supposed to only have an hour, but they just like left us. They didn't even weigh her. They just like left us with her, and it was so amazing. Like, I wouldn't have traded it for the world. Like, I feel like I could have like 10 kids after that experience. Like, it was so good. What I didn't expect is how bad the contractions after birth would be while I was breastfeeding. So right after I tried to breastfeed, they had the lactation consultant come in, and I didn't realize how bad, like, your uterus contracts when you breastfeed. And every single time it was just like the worst cramps. I think it was worse than actual labor. And I maintain this because I feel like it was like a mild period the whole time I was laboring until I got to 6 centimeters. And then it was unbearable. Totally fine. But going backwards, like, first of all, there's no real medication that you can take. They gave me Motrin, but what did that do? And on top of that, like, I wasn't expecting it. So that's something I didn't expect. That's something that nobody tells you. The contractions when you're breastfeeding. The breastfeeding journey for me in general was not the easiest. I knew my mom didn't have milk, or so they said. I mean, now watching me go through the whole breastfeeding process. She's like, you know what, if I had kept trying, maybe I would have had milk. But I grew up with her saying that she didn't have milk. So I was ready to formula feed from the beginning, just in case. I have the Bobby formula. And it was really difficult to try and get my milk in, and my supply still isn't fully there, and we do supplement with Bobby formula, but it's really, really hard. I think that, you hear about cluster feeding and all of that, but you don't know how bad it is until you're really in it. In the hospital, I was actually the first night I labored. The second night, she came out so fast, like I said, 6 pushes, that she was choking on amniotic fluid every now and then. So the nurse kept having to come in and suction her. And then the third night, she was cluster feeding. So I was actually Googling while Nick slept on the couch next to me. I was Googling how long you could go without sleep before you died, because I literally felt like I was going to die. Cluster feeding is tough. And when we have some guests on, we'll talk about breastfeeding with them. I'm excited for those guest episodes. So that's where we're at. We're combo feeding. Birth was great. Nick passed out. Everything was good. I am now pumping exclusively. Oh, so I want to talk about my PPA. So postpartum anxiety, I didn't realize it was going to hit as hard as it was. I think I was prepared for postpartum depression, not postpartum anxiety. So for the first 2 weeks of having her, I felt like I was going to die from anxiety, like everything. First of all, her breathing still to this day, the Owlet is the best thing in the world to save me and let me sleep, because once I put that on her and I could check her oxygen, I trusted that she was going to be okay. But the first 2 weeks I didn't have the Owlet, but I was also just a mess. My skin was like crawling because I was so anxious, and I would just like take 1,000 showers. Like the shower was the only place that I felt okay. And yeah, that was tough, but we got through it. After the first 2 weeks, it kind of started getting better. I would say I'm still pretty anxious. I thought I was an anxious person before having a baby, and then I had a baby and experienced like real bad anxiety. And now I'm like, did I have anxiety before, or was I just like normal nervous person? Either way, we're getting through it. So I do feel like my postpartum anxiety has manifested into me having like a type A personality. I never really did. I guess growing up, I wanted a little bit more control of my environment. And then at some point, I kind of let go of that, and I totally did not have a type A personality at all. I was actually like pretty bad procrastinator. I was kind of like, things will get done when they get done. I didn't need everything to be perfect. And now everything just kind of flipped on its head, and I just need everything to be, I'm type A. I need everything to be perfect. I need everything to be to a timeline. I need to, I need to make sure things are clean and organized and all of that. And yeah, so it's taken some getting used to, both by me, because I'm not used to being like this, and Nick, because he married someone different, right? Like I wasn't anxious. I definitely wasn't type A. Like I wasn't bossy or anything like that before. I was very go with the flow. And now all of a sudden, like I need things a certain way. And if they're not a certain way, I like freak out. But I've heard from my best friend, who also had a baby around the same time, that your postpartum anxiety can turn into OCD. And I don't think I full blown have OCD, but I think that like some OCD tendencies are there, and I'm just making them, I'm telling myself that it's just me being type A personality, which again, I was at one point more type A than I am now. I guess now I am type A again. But, I was type A for a little bit in my life. I remember specifically in high school, my sister said to me, like, why does everything have to be perfect? And I didn't really have an answer for that. And I'm very good at self-reflection. So after that, I was like, oh, I guess everything doesn't have to be perfect. And I kind of went into I was more like go with the flow, I don't know if I would call myself type B, but like go with the flow, very much procrastinator. And then I had a baby and now I'm type A. And everything needs to be perfect again. And you know what? I'm going with it. It is what it is. As long as I'm not like having a full on mental breakdown when things don't go my way, then I think it's fine. What I do, because with a baby, as you know, a mom, it's hard to get everything in that you want to get in. And I keep telling myself, like, these moments are fleeting. Contact naps will not happen forever. It is just a small blip in my life that I will have contact naps with my baby. And also, like, the reality of it is I don't know if I'm going to be able to have another baby. Like, she might be our only one, especially because it was so hard to have her. Like, I'm hopeful that in the future we'll be able to have a baby naturally, but I'm not so sure of that. So I'm treating this as my first and my last baby. So I'm enjoying when she wants contact naps instead of freaking out about everything that has to get done. But because I'm type A, I feel like I need to get things done at some point. So she wakes up at around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning for her first feed of the day, and I'll pump while Nick feeds her. And then after that, I literally run around the house and do everything I can in that time. So like sometimes, so like this morning she woke up at 4 a.m. I didn't go to bed till 11. So that's not a lot. That's not enough sleep. And I'm aware of that. So I just ran around the house and did what I could for like an hour. And then I got back into bed and I slept until she got up at 8. And then I was with her. I mean, it's Sunday, so Nick is holding her. That's how I'm even able to record this. So that's what I do on the weekends. During the week, sometimes I'm like, just she gets up and I'm up. Or she gets up, she feeds, she goes back to sleep, and I'm up for the whole day because, like I said, I like to like run around the house and get everything done that I have to do. I do laundry, I clean the dishes, I put away the dishes, I wash bottles, I fold her clothes and put away her clothes and fold the blankets on the couch and make that look like nice for the rest of the day. You know, all of those things that kind of like add up. But I also feel like if my house is neat, then I'm able to enjoy her more all day because I'm not looking around at all the things I have to get done. So, you know, maybe I'm not getting as much sleep as I would if I didn't feel like I had to clean up the house, but I feel like I'm trading that off for my mental stability. And that's my little mom hack. Sleep a little bit less and get more done around the house. So yeah, my next, this is a really short episode, quick intro episode. But my next episode, I think I'm going to do some Christmas mom fails, that I find online and we'll talk about them. And I also have a newsletter that I'm going to be putting out with some really hilarious videos and stories on there from you guys. I'm really excited for that. So subscribe to that newsletter. It will be on our website once our website launches. I'm also putting out some merch. I hope I can get that merch done so that you can send that out for Christmas. I'm not 100% sure that it's going to get done, but I really, really hope. I have a few shirts and mugs in mind that are going to be so fun. So follow us on Instagram. It's Mommin Around Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. But follow on Instagram to see when those come out and subscribe to be the first ones to be able to buy that merch. And then I think if you subscribe, I should be able to have some done so you can send it to people for Christmas. But anyway, thank you for listening to today's show. Share your stories, questions, thoughts in the comments or privately through email. I would love to hear from you. I would love to also have you as a guest on the podcast. Follow on social media, and you can message me on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. Subscribe to our newsletter for more funny content. I'm going to have videos on there that are going to be great. Like I said, check out our merch. We have fun stuff coming out, and make sure you're subscribed to get first dibs on the merch because I will be sending that out to the subscribers first with some special deals. And thank you so much for listening. I cannot wait to hang out every Thursday with you guys. This is going to be so much fun, and here goes nothing.